This is problem number 36 from section 1.2, and we are modeling with linear equations. We like to call it story problems. So here's the problem. Carl bought 2 plots of land for a total of $120,000. When he sold the first plot, he made a profit of 15%. When he sold the second, he lost 10%. His total profit was $5,500. How much did he pay for each piece of land? So this kind of problem is loosely based on the formula interest equals principal times rate times time. That's simple interest but you notice in the problem there's not a whole lot mentioned about time, so we're going to break it down where time is just 1, and we'll say interest equals principal times rate, or instead of interest, we'll say profit equals principal times rate, or profit equals the amount of money invested or that the land was sold for, so the dollar amount multiplied by the interest rate. Okay, so it would be good to establish a variable to represent the amount of money the first plot sold for. So suppose we just use x. X equals the amount of money for plot 1. Sometimes we think then why not just use y to represent the amount of money for plot 2? And we could do that. We would have 2 variables, x and y. However, if you're going to introduce a second variable, you're going to need 2 equations so that you have a system, 2 equations, 2 unknowns, and that's not really the goal with this type of problem in this particular part of the book. So instead of introducing a second variable, let's go back and find a way to express the amount of money for the second plot in terms of the variable we already used. So if we already used X dollars, how many dollars are left? The total is $120,000. Let's pretend we already used 20,000. How much is left? 100,000. What if we already used 30,000? How much is left? 90,000. How am I getting that? I'm subtracting from the total of 120,000. So if I already used X, how much is left? 120,000 minus X. So that's how we're going to avoid using a second variable. Okay, he made a profit of 15% on the first plot, then he lost money on the second plot. So if we take the profit minus the loss, we're going to get his total profit in the end. So we'll have this kind of setup. Profit on the first plot minus the loss on the second plot will equal the total profit. And how do we get the profit on the first lot? Remember over here we're going to take the dollar amount, multiply it by the rate. The dollar amount was X, the rate was 15%, so we have 0.15 times X. And for the loss on the second plot, same idea. Instead of profit, we could write the word loss here. Loss will be the dollar amount times the rate. The dollar amount, I'll put the rate first. The rate was 10%, and the dollar amount was 120,000 minus X. And that equals the total profit, and we're told that is $5,500. Okay, we have our equation. We're just going to solve this for X. We'll just write this one as 0.15x. And next we will distribute the 0.1. So that gives us 12,000 minus plus, because we have to distribute the negative sign, plus 0.1x equals 5,500. Combine like terms, and we have 0.25x minus 12,000 equals 5,500. Add 12,000 to both sides. 0.25x equals 17,500. And divide both sides by 0.25, and we end up with 70,000. What was x? X was the amount of money invested in plot 1 or spent on plot 1, amount he paid on plot 1. So then how much did he pay for plot 2? 50,000 would be what's left over. So we want to write up that answer, but first it would be a good idea to check that. So let's just plug those numbers back in and do a check. Okay, 15% of 70,000 minus 10% of 50,000 put that in the calculator. What does that equal? 5,500. So there's our check. Okay, and now let's go back to the problem, read it again, make sure we're answering the question. The question was, how much did he pay for each piece of land? So we need to include both of them in our answer. And who is he again? Is he Carl? Let's see. Yes, Carl. So Carl paid $70,000, include that dollar sign there, for plot 1. And $50,000 for plot 2. And for extra practice with this type of problem, I would recommend that you go back into that section in the book and you look at numbers 37 through 40. I think 40 is a little extra challenging, so that might be an interesting one to try. All right.